Hello, in this video we're going to create a patriotic paper flower. So these are larger in size because they're individual petals. So you're going to cut all the petals with your cutting machine and then you're going to glue the pattern paper to the solid paper. Okay, so if it's a white front, it's going to be red. If it's red, you're going to do a white solid petal, and that comes with the template, and with the blue you'll do a white background. So use your craft glue. Oops, I'm using Barely Arts. And they do come with precision tips, which is nice, which allows you to get around all the intricate design. So we're just going to glue each of them to the solid color. Just like that. So I'm going to go ahead and glue all of them, and then I'll be back. Okay, now that we have all of our petals glued together, so we cut them and then we adhered the solid petal to the pattern one. Now we're going to roll the petals with our dowel rod. And all the petals will be rolled under. So I just flip the petal over and on each side to loosen up the grain of the paper. I do roll it a little bit with my dowel rod. Now this is a wider petal, so I'm going to use a wider dowel rod just for the first few, at least for the first layer. Okay, so this one is the 1/2 inch dowel rod, so for layer 1 I'm going to use that. So again, I flip it over. I like to loosen up the grain a little. And then we're rolling the sides. I only do one at a time because we did glue it and it's 2 sheets of paper. And I find it easier to roll the petal up by flipping the petal over. But do whatever is easier for you. So again, both sides are going to be rolled under. So we'll do the first layer together, and then I'll work on the other ones. You can use a glue stick. I do offer a variety pack of dowel rods, which can be used for our mini flowers or the larger paper flowers, and it does come with a 1/2 inch and a 3/4 inch for our larger petals, all the way down to 1/8 of an inch for our smaller ones when we make our mini flowers. Okay, so again, we're just rolling in on the sides. All petals will be styled like this. And there's 6 petals per layer. This is just a sample size flower. You can do larger ones because our tallest one, our biggest flower, or the height of the largest one is 7 inches. So you can go much taller with the height, depending on your paper that you're using. Okay, so our first layer is done, so I keep them all stacked, and then we just move on to the next ones, which is 6.5 inches tall. I still think I can use this one. So I'm just going to continue to roll these. And you can continue to roll yours. Now that all of our petals are styled with we roll them all under. We're going to try and keep them in order here. And now we're going to cut up the center. And by cutting up the center and gluing them, it's going to allow the petal to lift up off the table. So depending on how far up the center we cut, will determine how far it will sit up or will it lay flatter. So depending if you want a very large flower or if you want a more condensed and the petals lifted up. So for our first layer, I'm going to cut 3 at a time just because that's 6 pieces of paper because it's glued together. So I flip them over. You can use your ruler. And the first one is 7 inches tall overall. So do we want it super flat or not? So I'm going to go maybe a little bit more than halfway. And we're going to do 4.5 inches. So just make a little pencil mark. And then cut up the center the best you can. So I'm using Fiskars Fabric and Mixed Media scissors. These I got at Walmart a long time ago. Okay, and now we're going to make our mark on the other 3. And it was 4.5 inches. This is all on your instruction document as well. Okay, our next layer, layer 2, is 6.5 inches tall. So we're going to take 3. So if we cut the first one at 4.5 inches, let's do 4 inches here. Okay, our next petal, which is layer 3, was cut at 6 inches tall. So the overall height of the petal is 6 inches. We cut the last one at 4. Let's do 3 1/4 here. The overall height of this petal was 5.5 inches, and the last one we cut at 3 1/4. We still have 2 more layers, so let's do 2 3/4. So you won't see the pencil mark, so don't worry about it. Cut it as straight as possible. Layer 5. The overall height of this petal is 5 inches. Last one we cut at 2 3/4. So let's do 2 1/4. So we're going down like a 1/2 inch. And we're cutting up the center to your pencil line. That one I did not cut straight at all. And I cut too many. And then our last layer, layer 6, the overall petal height is 4.5 inches. The last one we cut was 2 1/4. So let's do 1 3/4. All right, so now what we're going to do with all of them is we're going to assemble them, meaning glue them together, the 2 halves. So I like to separate the halves with my fingers and then just add a strip of glue, and then you lift up and over. Okay, so we'll do these together. Again, add your strip of glue lift up and over. So I separate them again with 2 fingers to hold them apart. I'm using my AdTech Precision Pro just for this part of gluing. Because I make a lot of small flowers, I like the amount of glue that's dispensed when you do this part. But you can use your regular large glue gun, which I'm going to use when we glue the petals on the base. So this is just one of the patterns in the Patriotic series. You can purchase them in the bundle or separately. Okay, so we're going to now just continue gluing all the petals together. All our petals assembled, we are going to start gluing them to our base. So I'm using a 10-inch cake round for additional supports for hanging. I don't always use it, but on some larger flowers I will. So we have a 10-inch white hexagon base, so I'm going to glue this to the cake round. Careful, it's hot glue. And then what I normally do is also cut a second one, and this one is 8 inches. So this is the actual Nina Bright White that I used in my flower. So you can tell the difference between the Recollections White is a lot more blue or gray than the Nina Bright White, which has a nice creamy finish to it. So we're going to glue this one as well. Try and place it evenly. Okay, so our first one is pretty large. So this is 8 inches and this one was 7. So you figure 7 and 7 is 14 plus 8. I have to use my fingers. Would be about 22 inches if we went up to that line. which we can. So I think I'm just going to come in slightly, like a ½ inch in from here. So we're going to start to use our, well, for the first one, we don't need to use the flexible ruler. So if we do from the outer edge in, we're going to do one, we're going to come in a quarter, I'm sorry, from the 8-inch one. So right here, we're coming in a quarter of an inch. So we're just going to go all the way around and come in a quarter of an inch. So it's going to be our first guideline. The only reason I'm using the regular ruler, I can see the lines a lot better. Okay. So overall, from the edge, it was 1 1/4 inches wide in. Okay. So we should be good to go all the way around without the petals overlapping. So we're just going to add our glue. So you can apply a generous amount, like at least an inch. And then press down. So because we did cut up the center about 4½ inches, the petal's laying pretty flat. So it's going to be a nice size. Should be about 22 inches roughly. Again, I'm adding about an inch. I rotated it counterclockwise or left. We come in, we center it on our hexagon shape side, and then we come up to our pencil line and press. And then we rotate it to the left or counterclockwise. We add our glue. And again, I'm centering my petal on this side of the hexagon shape. And then I come up to the pencil line and press. Rotate it. Add our glue. And we're going to continue this process. Center it and come into the pencil line. And rotate. Center it on that side of the shape, pencil line. Add some hot glue, center it, and pencil line. Okay, so for our next one, we're going to do even with layer 1, but in between the petals. So this one is also blue. So we're going to rotate it slightly, and we're going to put our petals even there. So add your hot glue. Now this petal is shorter, so it's going to fill in the space, but it'll have some depth difference. Okay, rotate to the left or counterclockwise. Add your glue. And press. So it's going in between those petals. It's filling in the gaps that we have. Rotate. rotate. Again, we're rotating to the left or counterclockwise. And then our last one on layer 2. And then we're going to rotate it slightly so layer 1 is directly in front of us. See if I can zoom out. Okay. Now we're going to use our flexible ruler and we're going to add layer 3. So layer 3, we're going to come in a 1/2 inch in between the petals of layer 2. So go around and make your mark. 1/2 inch. So depending on what size base you use, how far up you cut the center is going to determine the size of your flower. Sometimes it's just fun to play around and experiment. Okay, so now is our first layer of red. So we're going to do the same thing. We add our hot glue. So we do about 1 inch. We line it up with layer 1 in between the petals of layer 2, and you come into your mark. Turn to the left or counterclockwise. Okay, line it up with layer 1, bring it up between the petals of layer 2 to that pencil mark. And then we rotate. I'm rotating to the left or counterclockwise. We have 2 petals left for layer 3. Okay, line it up with layer 1, bring it up to your line in between the petals of layer 2. Just adding another hot glue stick. Line it up and bring it up to the line. So our next layer will start to overlap. So we have 3 more layers to go. So now we switch to the white petal. So we're mimicking the flag where we have the blue stars and then the red and white stripes. So we're going to rotate it a little bit. So now we're going to line up layer 4 will be lined up with layer 2. So how far do we want to come in? So probably... Let's take a look. Yeah, let's do a 1/2 inch again. So we're going to measure around where the petals meet and do a 1/2 inch. So you want to use a flexible ruler. These are available at Dollar Tree. Just because that way we can bend it when we need to, depending on the size, how much room we have in our center here. And thank you to Forever Petals by V for introducing us to this method. Okay, so just because I think they're going to overlap a little bit, I'm going to line it up with layer 2, but then flip it towards me, and I'm only putting glue on half the petal. This will allow me to tuck the last petal underneath. And then we rotate to the left or counterclockwise. Add our glue, line it up with layer 2 up to your pencil line. And press. It's so much fun watching your flower bloom. It's gorgeous. As we start our season on Memorial Day, remembering those who lost their life, in honor of our freedom, we have July 4th to celebrate our independence, Labor Day, and then Veterans Day. So we're starting the year with all of our holidays. So we kick it off with our patriotic flowers as of the making of this video. And then rotate to the left. So this can only be cut with your favorite cutting machine because of the intricate patterns. You do get the solid layer and the pattern layer with your template. Okay, and then we rotate. It's pretty close of whether we needed to overlap it or not. So we're going to line it up with layer 2, bring it up to the line, and just tuck it a little bit underneath that layer, up that first petal. Oh, she's stunning. We're just going to turn it towards me a little bit, and we're going to add some glue. And then just press it down. Okay, so that was the last one we just did. So now we're going to add our layer of red. So we're just going to come in another 1/2 inch. So you're going to measure around, again, where the petals meet. I find it difficult to see the numbers. Maybe I should wear my glasses or get readers. All right. I think that's where we started. And again, we're going to do the same thing. So I like to, so the red petals are lined up. So now we're at layer, what layer are we at? 1, 2, 3, 4. We're at layer 5. We line it up with our red petal, and then I like to flip it forward, and we're doing glue just on the right side. So you just line it up with layer 3, the red, and then press down, bring it up to your pencil mark. Rotate to the left or counterclockwise. Rotate to the left or counterclockwise. Ooh, oh my gosh, I'm throwing the petals. Line it up with layer 3, bring it up to your pencil line, and press. Rotate to the left or counterclockwise. Add your glue, line it up, bring it up to that pencil line, and press. Rotate. Oh, she's so pretty. And we just tuck that one under, and then we're going to glue this one down. So I like to rotate it closer to me. I'm going to use my smaller glue gun and press. Okay, now we have our last layer, which is the white petal. So we're just going to come in another 1/2 inch. That tends to be the normal amount that I'll come in for each layer when I make large paper flowers, but it all depends. Making the pencil lines is optional, but it just helps guide you to keep the petals even. All right, so now we're lining it up with layer 2, 4, and now 6. So it's going to be lined up with the other white. I feel like I'm missing some petals. Okay. So again, we're going to flip it towards us, add glue on 1/2 of the petal, line it up, and bring it up to the pencil line and press. The red and the blue paper is by Recollections from Michael's stores. It's all 65-pound cardstock, and the white is Nina Bright White, which I purchased in a 250 quantity pack on Amazon for about $13. You can also purchase it at Walmart. My store never seems to have it anymore, so that's why I just purchased the large pack. And we're just doing the same technique as we go around. We're lining it up with layer 4 and then coming up to our pencil line. And again, this is just a sample flower. You can do any sizes. All I do is size down 1/2 inch for each layer for the height. And once you enter the height in your machine's design space, it will automatically adjust the width. Okay, and then our last petal. We line it up. We're going to tuck it under that last one and press. I'm sorry, our first petal. And now we're going to glue that edge down. Okay, I'm going to add a circle. About 2.5 should do. I'm going to cut a circle, a 2.5 inch white circle, just to cover that center. And we'll do that and create our center. Okay, now that we have our circle cut, I could have went a little bit larger, but we'll go with 2.5 inches. So you could do 2 3/4 of an inch. So we're just adding glue. And you could do a fluffy center if you want. Then you wouldn't need the circle, that would cover it. So that's one of the options, is using my fluffy center. But we're going to use the stars center. And we're going to take a flower shaping mat. And we're just going to roll the centers of each of them. So we're going to do it as red, white, and then blue in the center. The red is the largest at 4 inches wide. So I just entered the width. And then the white was 3.5, and then the blue is 3 inches. I'm just rolling the center. So I used a metal ball stylus and our flower shaping mat. The tools that we use as a staple when making small paper flowers. Okay. So we're going to take our red one. We're going to first add that. Add a little bit of hot glue. And try and get it down directly in the center. We want that to dry. Looks even. Hard to tell from my angle. And now I'm going to pull in the shorter ones a little bit, just bending them forward a little. Just to give some added dimension. So we're going to add some glue. I'm going to use my little glue gun for this. And then we're going to place it in between, directly in the center. So pretty. And then again with the blue, we rolled the center, and now I'm just fluffing these towards us. So again, you can use any center that you want. This does come with the template. We're just adding some glue. And placing it down in the center. And you can fluff them out. If they get tangled, it's okay. She's super pretty. You can see my mess around me. So it is about 7. It's about 20 and a half inches approximately. Yeah, a little over 20 inches. Super pretty.